Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Metal Playground. As promised in the last episode, the XJ goes under the chop as we check out Ozbestdeal's bolt-on pocket flares. These will be the 3mm thick bolt-on versions, and then after we fit them, we're going to try them out. We leave with all four fitted, but do all four return. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of an unboxing for you. Now, I wish there was a couple tools now I wish I had that I didn't at the time. One of those would have been a heat gun. First thing I will say that the shipping for these was incredibly fast. Like, they showed up a week early. That being said, the box kind of looked like it had been opened about 400 times. First bit of plastic I pull out seems to be the passenger side rear arch. And one thing I noticed straight off the bat is how cheap the plastic felt. Like, it looked pretty good, but it didn't feel very nice. There was no real flex or structural integrity to it whatsoever. The next piece I got was the front passenger wheel arch. I do a little bit of a test fit to see how they're going to sit, and it doesn't seem like you'll have to cut much, which isn't really what I wanted because I want to be able to fit bigger wheels quite easily, so we're going to have to see what we can do about that. I hate this little plate thing that comes with the piece that goes on the door for the rear wheels. It's supposed to help keep the mud out, or at least that's what I think it's supposed to do. I then start taking off the flares, and oh boy, whoever designed the factory flares on these things really did not want you to get them off. I struggled for a good period of time. And I mean, every single bolt on these things wants to fight you, like, it's so tight, and then you get it right to the very end of its thread and it'll snap every single time. I didn't have a problem with them snapping. But I'd rather that they do it at the start of the thread, not make me sit there and wind the whole thing out first. Eventually, after a lot of patience, I did get them off.
I'm not asking anymore.
And then started test fitting them without the factory flares on, and I was really perplexed how they were supposed to fit, because it didn't seem like they were designed to fit this body at all. Like, obviously with cutting anything's gonna fit, but for the irregular molds that were on the body, it seemed like they needed to be more rounded than the square design that is the XJ. But needless to say, I'd already paid for them, so I was gonna go ahead with it.
Is there any glasses in the car? Oh yeah, these are going to be great. They're going to protect so much.
It's filming.
I started with a reciprocator, and that turned out not to be the right tool for this wheel arch. There's just not enough structural integrity to the front guards to use this. It just pulls them all over the place. Makes an absolute mess of it, so if you're going to do anything, cut a little section out so you can get the next tool that I end up using on there, and then just use that because it's so much cleaner. I had to cut off the remaining part of the factory flare because I wanted to leave the front lip on for now. There's no point cutting it off. And this is where I get the little nibbler tool. So if you don't have really cool tools like this, and you're lucky enough to have your mates that have a couple, and they're willing to lend them to you, partially because they want to see you chop your car up, but use these. So much cleaner of an edge. Even with my hack job that I did on it, it was so much better than using the big saw blade, and surprisingly fast too. I then take a look at the fitment once it's cut down, and just decide maybe if I drill one in at one end, I might be able to pull it in. This is where a heat gun would have been handy to shape them a little bit better because it was absolutely freezing cold, so the plastic just did not want to do what I wanted it to. But I pretty much decided to just YOLO it and put one in, and we'll go from there and shape it as we go. There's this factory bracket here that's a real pain. You got to get rid of that because it'll absolutely rip your tyres to bits. Here's a little bit of advice for you. Take your bottle out if you like your water bottle, because I guarantee you will hit it. No matter how hard I tried here not to hit it, I did. And mine didn't come with instructions, so I was just going off a video of somebody else installing flares that were exact same, but not from Oz Best Deals. And he even hit the water bottle. And even though he said it, I tried to avoid them, I still hit them. So if you like your water bottle, take it out. I'm not too phased because I was relocating it anyway, because I'm pretty sure once you put a snorkel on, you've got to take it out. After you start getting a couple screws in there, it does feel pretty solid, and the hardware they give you, like as in the screws, isn't too bad. But it doesn't feel solid enough that it's going to hold up to a wheel touching it. As you probably noticed, the indicator needed to be relocated, so what I just did was drilled 4 little holes in the shape of a square very close to what I thought the indicator was. I lined it up. Then I gradually made the hole bigger in the center till I could fit the nibbler in there. And then I just edged away at the edges of the little square until it had fit in. The fit that you see here isn't the final fit. I do eventually go back and make it fit a little bit more flush, so it's sitting much better in there now than what it is in the video. And I'll probably go back and do it again once I paint it, because I am planning on painting it all, and I'll probably go around and make sure everything's nice. But overall I'm not too worried because it is a 4-wheel drive and that's exactly what it's going to get used for, so it doesn't have to be bang on. And then after that I pretty much just repeat the process for the back, but instead I use Bleep and Jeep's fold method, cut and fold. And you can go see that on their channel. I think everyone knows who they are if they've got a Jeep by now. One thing that I will say is if you're going to do the corner pieces, make it so there's a lot of little cuts. It's alright to do big cuts for the edges, but once you get to the corners, do lots of little cuts. It gives you a bit more flexibility and you can curve the edges a bit nicer. Doing the part on the door was pretty tricky, especially on this side for me because mine doesn't open. But we got there in the end, it all went on pretty well. I have my doubts whether it's going to stay there or not, but I guess there's only one way to find out.
Stupid camera is locking onto a tree.
I'd go down and tell him, but I don't want to get hit.
Well, it got to the end of the day and they were actually still on there to my surprise. So what's my overall review on them? Build quality's terrible, they aren't a straight fit at all, but I guess they'd play that off to my shonky cutting job. And my answer to that would be, well, send instructions with the stuff you sell next time. But honestly, they're perfect if you want them for a pavement pounder just to make it look a bit better. But as far as I'm concerned, they have absolutely no place in the bush, or off-road at all for that matter. Without shitting on the company, the best way to say it is, if I got them for $150, I'd be stoked. But for the $340 that they're asking, they just aren't worth it, they really aren't. I like the look of them and all, but they're just not worth that sort of money. Well, that's at least in my opinion anyway, and that doesn't really mean a whole lot, so... The decision's yours, but I reckon the factory flares are actually better quality. So unless you're trying to get extra wheel space, then I would not use them. Save your money and get a set of flat flares. They're a hell of a lot more expensive, but they got to be better quality than these ones. And I shall see you in the next video, guys.